Talking to the average American, because I get these comments, I get comments and I get messages from people in the US. And, they're not in a position to leave. They're not in a position to leave America. Because let's be realistic. For the overwhelming majority of people in that country, they're not going to be able to immigrate out of that country. They can't afford to move cross town, much less across the world, much less to a foreign country. Even paying for a passport for most Americans is going to set them back in their budget. So this isn't realistic. But they can see what's happening. They can see what's happening in their country. They can see everything that I've talked about in my content. They can see that the domestic war is underway. And see, we're not talking about a civil war, because in a civil war, at least there's two sides. There's two sides to it. This is a civil siege. You're under siege. This is a war to occupy and to enslave you. That's what this is. And there's no real way to prevent you from seeing what's happening. If you're in America, if you're an average American person, you can see what's happening. All they can do is try to confuse you about why it's happening so that you won't understand that what you think you're seeing is actually what you think you're seeing. In other words, they're besieging you. They are besieging you. But they might be able to make you think that they're doing something else. Like it looks like a siege, but maybe they're actually up to something else. Like they're saving you from an immigrant invasion. Or they're saving you from radical, woke, neo-Marxist feminists or something like this, right? They'll come up with all different explanations for what they're doing. They're saving you from Antifa terrorists, or they're saving you from China, or they're saving you from Russia. We have to destroy the farmers because that's the only way that we can defeat China. We have to shut down that Hyundai plant, factory, so that we can make sure that Americans won't get trained and won't get jobs, won't get skills, all so that we can weaken Russia. We have to make it too expensive to drill for oil because of Hamas. We need to attack Portland, Oregon. I don't know, because of the cartels. You know this is nonsense. And they know that most of you know this is nonsense, but it doesn't matter because the more they have you in a chokehold, the less important it is for them to try to convince you that they're giving you the Heimlich maneuver because they've already got you in a chokehold. So they don't need to get your consent. So it can be outlandish. It doesn't matter. Their reasons can be outlandish. They can even tell you it's because of UFOs at this point, and you'll go along with it. But they can't make you not feel what's happening. You will feel what's happening. You are feeling what's happening. So they can't confuse you about what you're feeling, but they can confuse you about why it's happening. And as long as they can confuse you about why it's happening, then you won't do anything about it. Because you know that you're under siege. You can feel it every time you walk into a store. The prices are climbing like a fever. Your whole life in that country is measured in swipes, measured in fees. It's measured in an endless succession of small humiliations. And this is never addressed, never seriously talked about at all. You're told this is just the way it is. This is just the market. It's not the market. This is management. This is deliberate. None of this is arbitrary. This isn't, down to natural forces. The invisible hand of the market isn't the wind. This is a hand that's controlling distribution, it's controlling purchasing, it's controlling pricing, it's controlling wages. It controls who gets what and who goes without. And it's not invisible either. Fact of the matter, you just don't see it. The only reason you don't see it is because you're always looking somewhere else. They've got you looking over here, and that hand is over there, but it's not invisible. It's not invisible at all. Just because you're not looking at it doesn't mean it's invisible. It's not mysterious, The Walton family, ADM, Cargill, Kroger, Costco, Amazon, Cisco, and of course BlackRock. Everybody knows about these. They're far from invisible. These are the ones who are making the decisions. They're making the decisions about whether or not you can buy your groceries, whether or not you can have anything in your cupboard. Do you know that the median salary for the CEOs of those companies that I just named, the companies that decide how much a can of beans is going to cost you, the CEOs of the companies that decide whether or not you can buy a dozen eggs or some bread, their median annual salary is $16 million. $16 million to decide how much your child's breakfast is going to cost. Astronomical wealth for them, austerity for you. They'll tell you that the costs went up. They'll say it's because of the tariffs. They admit that the costs go up because of the tariffs, they'll say. But somehow their profits also went up. How does that work exactly? I mean, did you ever make money in your life as a result of your costs going up? Did your last rent hike make you richer? When you pay more at the gas pump, does that somehow also pump more money into your bank account? How does that work? Well, that's how it works for them. The costs go up and their profits go up. They raise prices when the inputs rise, but when the inputs fall, they don't change the prices back. That's not market forces. That's deliberate exploitation and price gouging. It's extraction, money from your pocket. You think this is dozens and dozens of separate companies? You think it's a bunch of different companies making all independent, unrelated choices? No, it's the same handful of boardrooms, the same handful of managers, trade associations, the same handful of consultants. And those consultants and those managers and those executives go through a revolving door between Wall Street and Washington and the corporate headquarters. They've got dashboards for your appetite. They've got forecasts for your paycheck, for your pantry, and for your panic. And then they'll script a market response. And when you panic, when your cupboards are empty, when your checks bounce, and you have return check fees, then and you get banned from stores because of your rejected payments, your return checks. I remember that, by the way. I remember that. There was a point when I was a teenager, and my single mother, divorced mother, was working 3 jobs, no child support coming, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to deliver, of all things, the Wall Street Journal to bourgeoisie neighborhoods. And we got banned from like 3 different grocery stores. All of the grocery stores that were within walking distance. We got banned because of return checks from 3 different grocery stores. We had to buy food from the gas station. That was like 35, 40 years ago. It's worse now, for more people now than it was then. And what do you get from your leaders? What do you get from your politicians? You get a lecture about personal responsibility. You need to work harder. You need to budget better. Social media tells you you need to hustle more, as if you can out-hustle consolidated purchasing power. As if clipping coupons is a serious countermeasure to corporate collusion that's dressed up as the free market. I mean, it's in the name. It's in the name. Capitalism. You should read that as capital schism, because it's all about who has capital and who doesn't. It's feudalism with a new logo. That's all it is. It's just feudalism with a new logo. And it is the dumbest and the most unsustainable economic system in the world, truly. It truly is. And I know Westerners, because you imagine that everyone has to be and only ever can be an advocate of or a believer in one of your theories, one of your Western theories, one of your Western systems. So you'll say that anyone who says that about capitalism, who's critical of capitalism, well, then they must be a Marxist. They must be a communist. They must be a socialist or what have you. But no, I'm telling you objectively. I'm telling you unbiased, impartially. You have the most dysfunctional, unnatural, stupid system that you could ever imagine, and you can literally only maintain belief in that by stigmatizing and demonizing any critique of it.
Now, welcome back again. Americans seems to be really suffering or going through a lot. And the Black Americans might be knowing this because the Black Americans, for a very long time, they've been under and through the same thing for quite some time. And they understand some little things here and there. White Americans, on the other hand, they're these kind of people who have, they've lived under a certain care, yeah, where they've always been protected. You see, the white privilege, like, because you're white, there are things for a very long time they've not been allowed to be going through, okay? But Black Americans are people who they have gone through really a lot of things. Nobody was there to fight for them. Nobody was there to defend them during this hard time. But now, it really taught them a lot of things. That is why you realize that the Black Americans, sometimes, they are not really complaining about the situation in America. Now, the situation in America isn't that good. But the government is not ready to let the people know and to allow the white Americans or everybody in particular or in general know that the situation in America is bad. What they would say is that things are well, things are okay, and everything is going on well. Maybe you're asking yourself, why is the reason, or what could be the reason as to why the government would be telling people things are fine, things are going on well when things are very bad. Because number one, the white Americans are in tears. They are crying. They are not okay. And they're not afraid expressing their feelings, their tears, because it is really, really hurting them. Okay? Now, Shahid Bolsen has a breakdown on this, and he is the person that I'm hosting today. I want you to listen to Shahid Bolsen, because there are things also that I'm going to tackle, because I decided to do some research here and there to know and to understand why. Because the government, before it came to power, DJ Trump was really telling the people that he's gonna do this, he's gonna do this. And the black Americans came in public and they said, you guys are about to make a very big mistake. Now, number one, DJ Trump was voted into power because the white Americans wanted to punish the black Americans, because the black Americans were not into Donald Trump's being the president. And they told the white Americans, this is a mistake. Please don't do it. Don't go for this trap. But the white Americans, because Donald Trump had told them about deporting the black Americans and all that, protecting them, and I don't know what, they felt into that. And when they felt into that, right now, they're really crying. The government is not concerned right now. Things are difficult. Things are not really okay. But the government is not ready to accept the fact that things are not okay. They keep on lying to them. Now, why do you think that could be the reason? Why do you think it is the reason as to why all these are happening? Now, the government might try to put things in order. Number one, it could be maintaining control and stability. So they have to lie to you, so that you don't really understand what is happening in your country. Number two, there could be a narrative management. Number three, there could be a propaganda and a public relation. Number four, there could be economic interests. They could be due to economic interest and also psychological comfort. Are you getting that? And so the government, despite what you're going through, the government might not really pay attention, and it might not really allow you to understand that you are suffering. Yes, you are suffering, but the government might not really allow you to understand that you are suffering. They would always try to make you believe you are suffering is because of a certain thing that is good. Are you getting my point? Now, I want you to take a look at Shahid Bolsen. He is breaking down this narrative here. And I want you to really listen to him. That is now when you'll understand what is really happening. And then I will come back and give my commentary at the end of it. But please, I'm going to ask you to really subscribe to my channel if maybe you're watching for the first time, for more information and for big information. Okay? And then I will really appreciate. Please, let's grow together. Okay? Now, as you're watching this video, prepare your thoughts, have them shared with me in the comment section, and I will do my best to make sure I read all of them and give a response where possible. But until then, let's take a look at my guest, Shahid Bolsen.
But like I said, you saying, well, if you're not in favor of capitalism, if you're not in favor of this, then you can only be in favor of that, because these two things are the only ideas that exist. No, just because I don't believe in your idea doesn't mean that now you can tell me what I believe in. Because you imagine that only two ideas exist, only the ideas that exist in your Western paradigm. No, you need to get out of that mental cage. You need to get out of that ideological cage. And you have to start taking your life more seriously, taking yourself more seriously. I mean, look what they do to you. Look what they do to you. You're no different in reality from someone who's working on someone else's land, a serf. You're generating revenue, you're generating profits, you're producing goods, you're providing services, and you're being taxed. And then after all of that, you're forced to survive on whatever crumbs they condescend to sweep off their table for you. And to keep you from ever focusing on anything real, anything meaningful. You let yourself get caught up in, celebrity gossip, what the super rich are getting up to, who wore what to which gala, some new social media trend that makes you do silly things, skincare routines. And while you're struggling to survive, you also have to try to look cute. You have to try to be attractive. Focus on that. You have to try to posture like you're a baller. You have to be witty. You have to pretend to be a life coach, making how to be successful TikTok videos in your car while you don't even know how you're going to pay your auto insurance next month. This is what they do to you. You swim through get rich quick schemes on the internet in the middle of the night, looking for passive income. You end up creating a whole alternate universe online about your happy go-getter boss lifestyle, your alpha lifestyle, or maybe you're some female student in America with some impossible college debt right now. There's some girl, for sure, there's some girl right now in America who dreamed of being a professional, who dreamed of being an academic, who dreamed of being a business owner, who dreamed of being a doctor, but she's sitting somewhere in, I don't know, Illinois or in Nebraska or wherever else, right now, mulling over whether or not she should just take her clothes off on the internet to survive financially. This is what you did to your people. There's some guy probably in one of the urban centers looking in the window of a department store, looking at some electronic goods that he can't afford to buy, and thinking to himself, well, maybe next time there's a riot. Maybe next time there's a riot, because looting is the only way he's ever going to be able to get his hands on that item, because he'll never be able to afford it. Everybody is scamming everybody in that country. You know it and I know it. Everyone is scamming everyone because that whole system is built on scamming. That whole system is built on scamming. So it's never going to teach you any decent ways. It's never going to teach you any decent ways to survive, any decent ways to thrive, any honest ways to thrive. Everything is a funnel that's siphoning the wealth upwards. There's no lateral empowerment. That's not a thing. You and I both know that anyone that you see who's trying to teach you how to get rich quick is just trying to get rich quick off of you, because that's all part of the whole maladjusted mentality of dog eat dog. It's that predatory system, and that predatory system is never going to teach you how to get along with people. That predatory system is never going to teach you how to cooperate with people, how to achieve mutual upliftment between people. It's always going to be extractive. It's always going to be predatory. It's always going to be exploitative. It's that whole so-called civilization that has a pillage mentality, a plunder mentality, a theft mentality, a slaver mentality. You have to break that mindset. There's no shame in being poor. Certainly not in that country. There's no shame in being working class in that country. If you find yourself mocking people who are struggling to survive financially, well, you're nothing but a sycophant for the system that is making them have to struggle, that's making them suffer. You know, I see people online using this word brokies, like an insult, brokies, meaning basically that if you're a brokey, then that means that you are from approximately the 85% of all the American population who do not have a six-figure income. In other words, you're like everybody else. Using the same language and having the same mentality of your class oppressors, and using that language and that mentality against each other. Why, it's sick. If you're broke, it's because your economic system is designed to break you. Look at the language that they use. Get ahead. That's what you're struggling to do, right? You're struggling to get ahead. Get ahead of who? Get ahead of everyone else who's struggling just like you? You see how they pit you against each other? Wallahi, as long as they've got you like this, as long as you act like this, as long as you think like this, you're never going to do anything but get devoured by the people who are making you think like this. That's why I keep saying you need to build sufficiency. That's the opposite of isolation. They've got you in isolation. But I'm talking about both individual and collective sufficiency, functional autonomy. This is your only chance. This is your only option. So yes, average American people will ask me. I get these comments, like I started to say. People who do not have the option to get out of that society. It's not feasible, it's not viable for them. And the answer is this. Or anyway, part of the answer is this: community sovereignty. You need to work on community sovereignty, community autonomy. I told you before, look at how the system trains you to be, okay? Look at how they train you to be, and train yourself to be the opposite. So they trained you to be isolated. They trained you to compete. They trained you to see your fellow citizens as rivals, or as potential resources that you can scam and that you can exploit. So you need to train yourself to build connections, to cooperate, to share, and to uplift one another. These aren't just platitudes. I know it sounds like platitudes, but I'm talking about practical realities. I'm talking about lifestyles. I'm talking about choices. I'm talking about ways of doing things. You're being trained right now to accept scarcity, to be used to scarcity in a so-called land of abundance. Self-isolation in neighborhoods that are full of people who are going through the exact same thing that you are. Anxiety in a country, financial anxiety in a country that has the resources that could literally feed continents. You're not weak. You're just oblivious to your own power. But that innate power is buried under programming and indoctrination and ideologies, and you have to extricate yourself from all of that. You have to dig yourself out of that, and then you need to start digging out all of that latent power that you have. Quietly, legally, peacefully, step by step, starting on your block. The people that you pass every day in the hallway, or even your online community, your online friends and acquaintances. Build a sufficiency zone, piece by piece, step by step, brick by brick, house by house. It's really not that daunting. In fact, this is why they need to so relentlessly program you and propagandize you to not see it, to not know how to do it. Because it's quite straightforward. You can start small. One building, one cul-de-sac, one basement of one masjid. You don't need any permits. You don't need any licenses to just cooperate with each other. You are allowed to do that. Make a group chat with just a handful of your neighbors. Set one clear aim. We want 10 households to buy staple foods together this month and save money. That's all. That's it. That's how you start. We'll all work together to buy some food, to buy some things that everyone needs, rice or flour, cooking oil, eggs, beans, whatever, bread. Check prices at a few different shops. Ask for a case price. Post the price in the chat. Collect your pre-orders. Go together for 1 hour. Lay everything out. Show the receipts. Divide it fairly between everyone who participated, and you go home with your dinner secured and with a little basic level solidarity secured, built. Then you can build a little pantry where you put 2 weeks worth of staples, staple foods. Maybe put a charity pot so that if there's any week when someone can't pay, if they come up short, you can cover that. Rotate the stock, keep the books open so everyone can see full transparency. Have a group of people count the cash. You're teaching yourselves as a community, as a group, trustworthy cooperative habits. And then when this rhythm sort of settles in, when it becomes routine, then you can also at home yourself learn to make a few basic things. If you don't already cook and bake, you could learn how to make bread, how to make tortillas, how to make yogurt, pickles, even other items like cleaners and soap and so forth, all-purpose cleaners and so on. These aren't hobbies. These aren't just crafts. These are economic moves. You understand me? Everything that you can produce for yourself becomes one less dependency, one less way in which you are dependent upon a system that's trying to crush you. And it's skills that your children will inherit. So then you have your group and you meet once a week for an hour, say. You share what you learned, you eat together, you build community, and your children watch, and they understand that adults can solve real problems with their own hands. So now you have built a small community that provides for each other, provide for themselves and provide for each other. That's the first layer of autonomy. Because of course you're still patronizing probably those same big outlet stores, Walmarts and so on. So you need to keep developing. You need to try to change where your money is going. You need to try to find independent wholesalers. You need to look into the so-called ethnic markets that are in your area. Latino store that sells rice by the sack, the Arab store, the halal shop, South Asian shop, African importer, family-run bakeries, and so on. Places that will give you a case price for yesterday's bread, for example. You show up with predictability. We can buy the same item every month from you. So can we lock in a fair price? You're not going there begging, you're going there offering stability. Locate local small farmers, ranches, farmers markets and so on. Try to increase how much of your community supplies their needs from independent providers on a collective basis. That's the next layer. Now start looking beyond your neighborhood. America's not an island. The global south keeps that country alive. Coffee, tea, rice, spices, lentils, dates, cocoa, fruits, vegetables, everything. Most of that value is captured before it ever reaches your plate. You can change that. You can change that by changing your relationships, expanding your relationships, growing your relationships, building bridges. You don't have to become an expert in customs. You don't have to become an expert in logistics. You can use the people who already exist, who are already doing that work. Right to the commercial desk of a consulate, say Indonesian consulate, Mexican consulate, Moroccan consulate, Pakistan, Kenya. We're 12 families in Ohio. and we want to buy a few staple items directly from small producers in your country. We'll start small, we'll start steady. So who do you recommend? Can you recommend anyone? Just ask them. Ask a fair trade directory for contacts. Talk to the people in your local mosque or your local community center who have families overseas. Do you know any family mills or farm co-ops back home that are ready to export? When you find a producer who works for you, do a video call, ask for samples, and so on. It's very straightforward. Ask who in the United States has ever bought from you before. Can we have references? You know, keep it focused on dry goods in the beginning. Use a freight forwarder that handles just small food shipments and does the paperwork. Place a tiny order, just 5 to 10 cases of whatever it is. Nothing that can hurt you. Distribute it the same way that you distribute your regular group buys from the local producers. And then rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. In time, you'll have a monthly cycle that feels as natural as carpooling. In week 1, you post the offers. In week 2, you collect the pre-orders. In week 3, you receive the goods and divide them up, distribute. No drama, no speeches. Just grown people doing grown people things. Taking care of business, taking care of their families, and building autonomy and building community sovereignty. And you know, eventually you can even start to think about establishing your own, within your, internal to your community level, your own currency of exchange. How you do business within your group. Understand what you're building. It's not a club. We're not talking about a trend. We're talking about building a local, autonomous or semi-autonomous economy. An engine inside the community that you live in that keeps the food moving, keeps the skills growing, keeps the friendships and the solidarity deepening, and keeps the money circulating close to home in your neighborhood. Once you build that, those politicians and the government itself is going to look a lot smaller. And once you've built your own autonomy as a community, then cost of living crises look like exactly what they are, which is nothing but an attempt to train you to accept less than what you can provide for yourselves if you do it together. You can't wait for perfect conditions. You don't have time for that. You can't wait for funding. You don't need funding. You have to start with what you have. Whatever time you have, and the courage to just knock on someone's door and say, let's help each other eat better and spend less. That's leadership. And it spreads, especially when it works. And if someone doesn't want to participate in it because they say, this isn't going to make us free, this isn't going to answer the problem, say, this is going to make us more free than we were last month. That's the only thing you need to worry about. This is what keeps people away from ever taking any initiative in the United States. Because they cannot see that any particular step or any particular action is going to give them a one-time, all-encompassing, be-all, end-all solution. Because that's not a thing that actually exists. You need to just make better. You need to just do better. You need to just improve. You need to improve. You cannot perfect. There are no solutions. There is only struggle for improvement. That's all there is. So today you buy together. Next month you make together. The month after that you bring in lentils from a co-op overseas with someone that you met on a video call and paid fairly. And the best part is that your children will learn by watching you. They'll learn that power can be built at scale from a kitchen, from a hallway, from a block, until it actually ends up crossing the ocean. I'm telling you as plainly as I can, you are not helpless and you are not alone. Everybody else is going through the same struggles that you're going through. Your own home, your own house, your own apartment can be the start. Your block can be the start. If you want to line to the farms and the mills of the global south, it begins with a text to your neighbor, to the imam of the masjid. It begins with a list of 3 staple foods that you and your friends and your neighbors use every week, need every week, and you realizing that you don't each have to figure out in isolation how you're going to survive, how you're going to secure for yourself those basic needs, those staple items. See, people keep telling me that, Shahid, you hate the West, you hate America. No, I hate what the West and I hate what America has done. I hate what they've done to the Muslim world, and I hate what they've done to the global south, and I hate what they've done to their own citizens. We are Muslims. We love humanity. We love fairness. We love justice. We love mercy. And we hate oppression, and we hate injustice, and we hate cruelty and greed and exploitation. I hate what that country has done to you because it's horrendous. And I know it's horrendous because they did it to me too. I came up like that. I came up through that. I'm not talking about something that I don't know about and haven't been through, haven't lived through. Like I said, we're Muslims, and it doesn't matter to us if you believe what we believe or not. It doesn't matter to us if you're Muslim or not. You deserve to eat. Islam teaches us that among your God-given rights as a human being is material subsistence. And common sense tells you, basic intelligence will tell you, that if your subsistence is under someone else's control, then I don't care how much you talk about living in the land of the free, you will never have freedom as long as your subsistence is under someone else's control. If you can't secure for yourself and for your community your food, shelter, and basic needs, then that community is nothing but a slave colony. And you're always going to be the slave of the one who has the power, who has the control to provide for you what you need. If you can't provide it for yourselves, then you're going to be the slave of whoever is providing it for you. So when you're ready, we'll help you. Middle Nation will help you. I'll help you. We'll help you write that first message to a trade office. We'll try to help you meet your first producer in the Global South if we can. We'll try to help you find ways to set up your first small shipment from an exporter in the Global South. I'm not talking about theory. I'm talking about groceries. I'm talking about a sufficiency zone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not command us to accept humiliation. Feeding your own family should not depend on the quarterly guidance of men who earn $16 million a year, more in a day than you earn in a decade. Do you think that the Lord of all the worlds, the Lord of creation, your creator and my creator, Rabbul Alameen, makes our subsistence contingent upon the confidence of shareholders? No, provision is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever wants to control the distribution of the provision from Allah is by definition unjust. Our job as Muslims is to obey the truth and organize our lives around it. Well, they have created a whole system that is organized around falsehood. Look, if you can organize 10 households, you can organize 50 households. If you can secure weekly staples for you and your family and your community, you can secure monthly staples. So map your block, map your neighborhood, find out who bakes, who farms, who drives a van, who has a spare freezer, who can do the books, who can negotiate. Put the skills to work and turn your whole block into a single organism. You can build a community in which a mother doesn't need a CEO's permission to feed her children. Now again, obviously, this is just one form of autonomy. This is just one form of autonomy, because once you build that, once you fortify that, you stabilize that, then you can also deepen it. You can also layer it. You can also expand it. You can explore energy solutions, for example, water sourcing solutions, skill sharing, and so on. Like I say, turn your community into a sovereign ecosystem. There is no reason whatsoever why you can't do this. No reason whatsoever. The only impediments that there are psychological, emotional, and cultural. Yes. The only impediments are the impediments that they programmed into your mind, that they programmed into your heart, that they programmed into your habits. The only impediments are attitudinal. You understand? The pessimism, the defeatism, the antisocial reflexes, the passivity, the docility, the animosity that has been inculcated in you towards your neighbors and towards your fellow citizens. These are all of the things that the power structure implanted in you. Like I say, psychologically, emotionally, and in your habits and so on. But practically, in reality, in the real world, there is no real world reason why you can't do something like this. And there is every real world reason why you need to do this.
All right, that was Shahid Bolsen's take. Let's now try to see what is really happening. You know, the government protects itself. That is the first thing you need to know. The government will never stand for the people in case things are happening. The government will always try to protect itself because it is for the self-interest. It is for the self-interest. People want to protect themselves. Now, that's a very deep and important thought. And it touches on power, psychology, and how the government maintains legitimacy. Okay? So, maintaining control and stability. The government often try to maintain social order and stability, even when things aren't going well for the people. Are you getting that? If people fully recognize how much they were being harmed by certain policies or economic systems, they might resist or demand for a change. But do you think the government is ready to allow people demand for a change? No. So leaders in institutions sometimes frame hardships as necessary for the good of the nation, security, or economic progress. This helps to prevent unrest. Okay? Now, narrative management. On narrative management, modern governments and the corporations or media structures tied on them are skilled and shaping narratives, deciding how problems are discussed. For example, economic inequality might be explained as a result of individual failure rather than systematic design. Are you getting that? Wars on foreign policies might be justified as defending freedom instead of protecting economic interests. That is bitter truth. This kind of messaging makes people accept suffering as their normal or purposeful. We have a propaganda and public relation as number 3, that in domestic societies, consent of is enforced by violence, as in dictatorships, but often manufactured through persuasion. Are you getting my point? So media, entertainment, education, and political messaging all play a role in making sure things like this run. The goal isn't always malicious. It's often about keeping faith in the system, but the effect is the same. People are confused, divided, and less likely to see the roots of their struggles. You must be confused. The problems are there, you're crying, but when you ask the government about, or maybe when you try to tell the government to account for what is happening, they will tell you, we are doing this because of this, we are doing this because of this, we are doing this because of that, and that is how it has always been for a very long time. Okay? Now, economic interest. Power in America is deeply tied to economic elites. Economic elites, let me call them the elites, the economic elites. Okay? So, policies that benefit the wealthy are often justified as good for everyone, like trickle-down economics. This allows inequality to persist while being sold as progress. You see, I've told you this, I'm going to say it again. In America, the rich white people would always try to be like, or rather to live like they're the ones who are controlling everything. But you are lied to, okay? They're the ones who are funding the government. They're the ones who are funding even the campaigns of the campaigns of the person they want him to become the president, and according to how they have chosen, because they choose themselves. There is no democracy, even in America. The so-called the pioneers of democracy. There is no democracy there. Okay, democracy was just fashioned to really manipulate the black people and the Africans and all that. But even in America, there is no democracy. White rich Americans control everything. So the poor white Americans keep on thinking America is great, or they are loved, but deep inside they are not loved. So all the laws and things that are made or created, they are made and created to serve the rich people, the rich white Americans. They forget about the poor white Americans, but they will keep on making the poor white Americans think they are being taken care of, or something like that. At the end of the day, that is not what it really is. Psychological comfort. It's hard for people to live with the idea that the government doesn't serve them. So governments and the people themselves create comforting illusions, believing things are bad, but they are for the greater goods. It's easier than forcing the idea that the system might be unjust. You won't know. The system will be unjust. You will not know it is unjust. You will keep on thinking things are well because you're made to believe things are well even when things are not well. And that is one of the scary and dangerous things, because people will suffer for a very long time. It is bad when you know things are well when things are not well. It is good when things are not well, you know and understand things are not well. But if things aren't going on well, but you're made to believe things are going on well, that is dangerous. That is one of the things you need to really be afraid of. Yeah. So people select and make a government that they think is going to help them, but this government is not going to help them. But the government makes them believe it is good. So they do bad things and they make failures successes. That is what they do. They make you to feel like they justify wrongs, trying to justify wrongs to make you think that they are trying their best to make you feel better. Now, who is to be blamed here? A white person who woke up one day morning and decided to vote Trump into the government. That is the person to be blamed. Who regrets here? Still a white person. A black person woke up and told them, what you're about to do is something very, very dangerous. You need to change. You need to think twice. When the deal is too good, you have to think twice. Don't just look around, you see a white person like you, somebody who looks like you, somebody who speaks like you, and you feel like, this is the person I want. Are you voting for them because they look like you, they speak like you, or you're voting for them because of what they're going to do? This is a system. They created themselves. They supported themselves. All the times the black people have always been against this kind of a system. But when blacks were against this kind of a system, white people felt like these people, they don't know what they are doing. Now the same system they used to support for a very long time, it's eating them up, and there is nothing they can do. Tell me what you think in the comment section. I will do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give a response where possible. I am the African Streamline. And at this point in time, I'm going to ask you to subscribe this channel if you're watching me for the first time. For the returning subscribers, I really do appreciate you. But keep tuning in. Keep staying here. Until next episode, peace be with you.